Well, hello everybody. I want to tell everybody or explain to everybody the link between religion and secularism, or the anti-religion. And I've explained that this goes back to Adam and Eve and the seed of enmity between the woman and the serpent. Now, both sides of this equation come together in history to the end of times in the Bible, the final conflict between the Messiah and the seed of the serpent. Let us focus first on religion, not true Christianity, religion. Religion has served to be a hypocritical, pompous, pious, pharisaical, in many senses, legalist, oppressive thing to many people, and has made people, as a matter of fact, if something really causes anger towards God, it's religion. It's the idea of people making themselves better people, but actually being arrogant bastards underneath. And by bastard, I mean not a son of God. Because anybody who doesn't know God and pontificates over another man and claims to be a son of God is not a son of God. Or it's unlikely unless they know Jesus Christ. Because that's what the whole message that God put down in the cross was. That it would end your pride as a man being good enough to reach somewhere with your own goodness. And that's why this seed that came to save people who throw away, by seeing the truth of grace, their own proud works and trust in just the cross and the cross alone. But the next point is the people who are trying to take the seed that God made. Remember, let's take a flow from the beginning of the Bible. The first words in the Bible were very important because they set up the argument. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, the other side of the argument is what? The other side of the argument is God didn't create the heavens and the earth. And you would say, well, I'm an atheist, but I don't believe in evolution. But the main thing is that evolution has the idea of Darwinism and evolution is exactly set against the first verses of the Bible. The first thing that God said was, God created, I created, he said, the heavens and the earth. Now, the Darwinist goes, well, okay, the Big Bang Theory, it just happened, and God didn't create anything, it just came about without God. But the next thing that happened is that God created, the heavens and the earth and everything, animals, with seeds in them according to their kind. The second big argument is that these seeds didn't come about by creation. These seeds came about as a matter of evolution and over time and mutations. Again, exactly against the first Genesis in the Bible. So we see that the Bible seems to be calling the argument out exactly the way it should be called out. But the next thing is that now, in man's arrogance, he needs to prove that God didn't create the heavens and the earth, and God didn't create things with seeds in them that create themselves. And their biggest obstacle is that they can see evidence of different animals having the same traits. Like every dog has a tongue and every man has a tongue, and just about every animal makes a tongue. The problem is that God genetically made it so you can't switch one tongue to the other tongue. Or it just can't happen. So that's evidence that when God created things, he created things with noses and ears and tongues, but he didn't make them the same. And they didn't come from one origin, a primordial soup or a fish out of the sea. Whereas the evolutionary argument was one argument, one organism that somehow came about by chance, which is nearly impossible because the gene code is so big, that multiply mutated into so many different species, some sort of Genesis project where boom, it just happened and there were things all over the place that killed each other off, and through natural selection we see what's alive today. Which is, if you think about it, it's a little nuts, isn't it? All these things, and they're like, okay. But so here's the thing. So now, in his arrogance, man now has to figure out a way to make a dog cross with a cat, or a spider cross with a goat. So man, in his arrogance, is trying to prove that there can be mutations that happen that can cross species. We just don't see it now. In his madness to make himself believe that God didn't create the heavens and the earth, and God didn't create seeds according to their kind, but that they came from one place. That now, in his madness, he's Frankensteining fruit, okay? He's Frankensteining fish, and he's taking goats and crossing them with spiders, and he's Frankensteining man. This is exactly, if you look at history, this is why at the end, when God comes and laughs and says, so, you thought that because you were able to take a spider gene and put it in a goat, that proves that I didn't create the heavens and the earth? Because you took something I made, all the amino acids. If I was God, I would say, okay, well, I'm not going to give you any amino acids to start with. Now where are you? See, taking what God already created and bastardizing it, okay, doesn't mean that it came from, that it happened according to the way the evolutionist believes it, but it proves in his arrogant mind that, see, look, we can make creation. They've been trying to do this since the beginning. I mean, that this is the madness of what they're trying to do is prove something so enthusiastically. And this is why they come up with Piltdown Man and all the, when evolution started and people gave them their arguments, they wanted fossil records. So basically they tried to trump up as much propaganda as possible to push up their position. When we look at Charles Darwin, he was a racist. You can see in his writings how his whole idea was he saw certain species, but then he started to look at black men and dark men and light-haired, colored, and blonde-haired, blue-eyed men, and they started to categorize them in higher forms of evolution. Which now is in man's madness. Hitler did it with the Aryan race. The communists started to do it with pushing Leninism, Darwinism, and utopian society, which the Aryan race didn't go away. It's just hiding. And it's even now in this culture with eugenics. You think that the arrogance of man isn't trying to create a super race still? You're mistaken. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories, but I think it's rather funny that they're putting fluoride in the water and it's dropping our sperm count. And nobody has a reason to put fluoride in the water because it doesn't cause the teeth to be better. It actually causes your bones to rot, and too much fluoride causes they're having big problems with fluoridosis of the teeth and the body. Causes arthritis, causes the sperm count. They're eliminating people. Why? Because of the survival of the fittest. They believe they're the super race. So what do they need us for? If you don't believe me, check it out. Follow the line of flow from Genesis to Darwin, and to his cousin Galton, and you'll see that the slave industry and man exalting himself over another man is all a huge. It's like global warming. Okay, it's a huge political, it's not, and that's why it's not science. You can say, oh, it's science. Wait, you don't have to agree with the science. Of course it could be, because the science has everything to do with what people wished to be true. Man wanted to be above God. Man's enmity towards Mary's seed. Man, the son of Satan's seed, against Mary's seed. And you wonder, well, why doesn't God have compassion? Because you're all sons of the devil now. You're not sons. You're not children of God if you don't know the true seed, Jesus Christ. And that's a harsh statement, but that's according to the Bible. That's the truth. You're all sons of your father, who has been a liar from the beginning, the Satan himself. And that's why your prayers, God can answer them. God doesn't have to answer them. And even a Christian, he doesn't answer all of his prayers. But that's why there is a seed, there is a race there is a chosen people. And the Jews in their arrogance thought that they were all chosen. Abraham was chosen to carry that seed, but not all Israel was Israel. Abraham had faith to believe in God, and anybody who has faith to believe in God and his salvation, knowing the true seed, Jesus Christ, anyone who has that faith is of the chosen race. It's not the blonde-haired, the blue eyes. It's those who are chosen by faith. So there is a super race. But we walk around with this treasure in clay jars, offering it to people, and people saying, no, we want Darwinism. We don't want this seed, we want that seed. Or we want religion, which is set against the true Christ because it's antichrist in legalism. Because the name of that food was the law. Now, I've explained this to a lot of people, but if you make the connection and start to put it together, now you start to see why I believe that the Bible is absolutely, well, not absolutely true, because I don't believe it's absolutely true. I do believe that God let the Bible be published exactly the way it is. Because if he hadn't done it that way, you wouldn't be able to see all the corruption of man set against from the legalism of James to the books of Paul to some writings that look, and I'm not saying that, I'm saying that there's inspiration here, but those who have made it and prayed to the words instead of prayed to the message, I believe got it wrong. Of course, many people are going to be all upset with me because I say that, but the fact is that the truth of the gospel can be looked at in a political, just like a political posturing of the time. It can be looked at as any rhetorical debate between a Democrat and a Republican. And so what you need to do is you need to separate what's what. And that's how you correctly divide the Word of God. Now, I know everybody's like all up in arms about that. But honestly, we don't have time to play around with people who are making something axiomatic and still even messing it up because it's all about your interpretation of what's there anyway. But what I do see is that all this axiomatic legalism is taking your eyes off the true seed, the Messiah, who came to take away all of your works and let you rest in his Sabbath, the day when we rested from all our works. By God's grace, I hope you all understand where I'm coming from, and see that there is something going on here, and we need to fight against it with prayer and with information to stop these genetics mad scientists from taking over the world. Because you know what? It's already in progress. It's happening all over the world. And I know a lot of people don't believe it, but you better believe it, because the Bible even said it was true. It said that there would come a great deception in the end times and everybody would be fooled. It said that, it called it when it said that we would all be marked, that they would start metering our water and metering everything. That's why God said not to take a census. Because when you start marking people, you start making them like cattle. God bless you all. I hope you understand. Take care. God bless.